So recently, a couple of people reached out to me. They were about to accept their offer letter and they wanted to know what sort of benefits they should look out for in the offer letter. So, as a sharp girl, I wanted to just go on Google or go on YouTube and send them a YouTube video and say, you know what, just watch this video. It has everything that you need. I kept checking and I found it very difficult to find a YouTube video or like a post on Google that had a list of all these benefits. So I thought to myself, maybe this will be something that people might want to hear. People might want to know what they need to look out for before they accept their offer letters. So if this is something that interests you, or if you know somebody that this video will be useful to, please make sure that you stick around and make sure that you share this video with them. Let's roll. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Faith. I'm an HR professional and event host based in Toronto, Canada. If this is your first time here, please use the subscribe button and also click on the notification bell so when I post a new video, you will be the first to know. So like I said, I'm going to be talking about some of the employee benefits that you should look out for in your offer letter before you sign. Now it's 2023. This is the time for you to throw out those applications. This is the time employers are going to be posting new job roles. This is the time recruiters are going to be reaching out to people for new opportunities. So make sure you take advantage of this time. If you are still sleeping on top of bicycle, well, I cannot help you there. If you need resources on how to prepare your resume, on how to land jobs, I have everything. So I'm going to link some here, but you can also just check my YouTube channel and see some of the older videos. You will see a lot of resources that will be helpful to you. Okay, so what is the first thing that you should look out for? I'm going to split the benefits into benefits that I think you should make sure are part of the offer letter as much as you can. And I'm going to the other part will be perks that, well, they might not necessarily be there, but if they are there, look, all well and good. So the first thing I'm going to be talking about is the extended healthcare benefit. Now, this one, if you are someone who is residing in Ontario, I'm not sure about the other provinces. I think they might have something similar. But in Ontario, we have OHIP, which is, the medical benefit that the government provides. Now, it covers certain things, but there are certain things that might not necessarily be covered. That is where the extended healthcare benefit that your employer will provide you comes into play. Now, typically you would have your health, your health benefits. You would have your dental benefits. Oftentimes you will have your vision care. Not every employer might include this, but for the most part, just make sure that this is there, especially if this is something that is useful to you. I personally don't have issues with my eyes. I've never had to use a pair of glasses or anything. So for me, it might not really be something that I might be bothered about. But for someone else, it might be very useful. So make sure that you ask, okay? This will cover things like drugs. This will cover things like, staying in the hospital. Your vision care, of course, will cover things like renewing your glasses or, whatever it is, the checkups that you need with your doctor. Now, aside these three, there usually will be something called a healthcare spending account. Now, this one too might not be, not every employer might provide for it, but really what the healthcare spending account is for is it's a fund that is not taxable that you can use to cover for things that the other three haven't covered. So if, for example, I need braces, braces may not necessarily be under the dental care that your company might provide for, but you can get your braces using the health spending account. It depends. It can go, there are different amounts that the employer can offer to you. In one of my previous employments, if you're a single person, you have $750 to spend in the 1 year cycle. If you are someone who has a family, you would have $1,500. That's $1,500 to spend. Just make sure that the health and the dental are there. Those are the ones that are really, really important. And then if they give you the health spending account, all well and good. Now, the next thing I'm going to be talking about is the paid time off. So more like the leave. This will entail your vacation, your sick leave. Sometimes the sick leave may be the same thing as the personal leave, depending on the company. In other companies, they might have the sick leave, they might also have the personal leave. Vacation in Ontario, most times for companies, I won't just say Ontario, I'll say for companies in Canada, most times you would get 15 working days. So make sure that that is what is there. It might be slightly less, but for the most part, 15 is like the industry average that you would see for someone who is just joining an employment. For your sick leave, oftentimes you would see a minimum of 5 days. So anything less than that, honestly, shouldn't be acceptable, because I mean, what are you going to do with less than 5 days, right? So make sure there's a portion of the PTO, that is sick leave, 5 days minimum. Now, the sick leave may be the personal leave, like I mentioned before. Otherwise, if it's two different things, then the personal leave should also be 5 days. Now, the personal leave is really for, you're not sick, but you just need a day off. So maybe you want to go to your child's school for a PTA meeting or something. All of those sort of things, you can use your personal leave for it. So make sure that those things are included. Now, the other benefit I will talk about is the short-term and long-term disability. Now, the short-term disability, this disability leaves, as the name implies, is for when, of course, you are disabled due to maybe an extended period of sickness. Now, most companies, of course, would offer you these disability leaves. Now, what it really means is that for the most part, I think short-term disability for most employers, they would give you up to 17 weeks. So if you are ill for more than 5 days, but less than 17 weeks, that will be your short-term disability. Now, you might not necessarily get your full 100% pay while you are under the short-term disability. You might get up to maybe 70%, 80%, depending on what your employer provides for. Now, anything after that 17 weeks will now be long-term disability. So you can be disabled for maybe about two years, depending on how long it is. So that one, you will continue to get some part of your pay, but of course it will not be a full portion because really you are not working. Now, one thing I must mention here is that not every employer pays in full for short-term disability or long-term disability. Some of these benefits are employee paid. So don't be shocked if an employer, and I think you should ask, it's good to know. It's not like you can say no to it anyway, because these benefits are mandatory. Don't ask me, it's complicated. It's mandatory, but sometimes you have to contribute to it. Now, some employers might pay in full for these benefits, but the difference is that the benefits become taxable. If you are, as an employee, is contributing to the short-term disability or the long-term disability for the most part, then the benefit will not be taxable. So don't be shocked if you have to pay out of pocket, not out of pocket, if some money has to come out of your pay stub on a bi-weekly basis or on a monthly basis, depending on how they deduct this amount. Don't be shocked if that is something that you need to do, okay? It's kind of standard here. The employer may not pay for everything, but just make sure that you ask. So at least you know that, okay, I'm going to be paying some part of it. Likewise, other benefits like the life insurance as well. Sometimes the employer might pay for this in full. Other times you might have to be the one contributing part of this payment. The life insurance, as the name implies, means, of course, in the event of the death, God forbid, I'm in Nigeria, this is what we say, God forbid, God forbid. Anyway, so in the event of the death of the employee, the money will not come to you, obviously, because you are dead. I mean, just putting it as but it will go to your next of kin, right? So, or your beneficiaries. So, of course, when you join a company, it is very important that you list out, they must provide you with a form or a documentation where you need to list out your beneficiaries. And when your beneficiaries change, please make sure that you remember to change it, because if anything happens to you, that your ex-wife that is no longer your beneficiary is the person that the money will go to, because that's the person whose name they have on the document. So please, as life changes occur with you, make sure that you update your beneficiary list. Okay? The next one I will talk about are the mat leave and the pat leave top-ups. Now, of course, if you are someone who resides in Canada, obviously if you're the birth mother or whatever, for maternity leave, the government will typically pay you an amount. I think it's up to 55% of your salary to a maximum of $650, if I'm not mistaken. I'll put the correct thing on the screen. Now, what employers do as additional benefits is that they top up that amount. In companies I've worked for before, they will top up the amount such that for a few weeks. So if I'm going on maternity leave for maybe 1 year, for the first maybe 17 weeks, 20 weeks, it depends on what your employer provides. But I think that a minimum of 12 weeks is what you would typically see as the industry standard. So make sure that it is not less than that. So what you typically see is that, and they would give you some sort of additional pay. So for the first maybe 15 weeks, or as the case may be, I will get something additional to what the government, the 55% that the government is providing. So maybe I'll get up to 80%, sometimes 100, depending on how generous your employer is. So make sure that, this top up is included. Now, it might not really matter to you. Maybe you're done having all your kids and this is not a benefit that is of interest to you, and that's okay. But if you're someone who is, single, you're going to have kids someday, or, you're a man, depending, whatever it is, as long as you know that this is a benefit that you would need at some point in your life, make sure that you ask the questions. They might not necessarily state it in your offer letter, but make sure you ask the HR professional that what is their policy on, do they offer mat leave or parental leave top-ups? It's very, very important. Trust me, it is. The next one I will talk about is the EAP, so the Employee Assistance Program. I know I come from Nigeria, and in Nigeria, when it comes to mental health problems, or talking to counselors or people that go for therapy, it's not really a thing. I mean, maybe it's becoming a thing now, but growing up, it wasn't really a thing, right? So it depends. You might not really need this, but I tell you, in the Western world, especially in Canada, there are a lot of issues that might come up that might be mental health related, and it's not necessarily mental health related. Sometimes you're just stressed. You need to talk to someone. Something is not going well in your life. You need to talk to someone other than your spouse or your kids or whatever. This is where the EAP comes in. Now, the EAP provides for counselors that are available 24 hours in a day. So if I feel like I need to talk to someone, I will pick up the phone and I will dial the number and speak to someone. This benefit was very important, especially during COVID. COVID time, the COVID period was hard on a lot of people, even post-COVID. So this was a very important benefit. So please make sure, like I said, it might not necessarily be written in your offer letter. Make sure that you ask the HR professional or the recruiter before you sign that offer letter.